Hello everyone. I think we're going to get started here shortly. If you have any problems with audio that you're hearing right now, please let me know via chat. Or if you do keep running into issues of audio dropping out or skipping, just hold on and try to do what you can on your end. Chances are it is with the web connection. And rest assured, everything should be okay with the recording that we will pass out to all those who are registered. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. I think we have everybody that we're going to get to for today. So thank you for attending the video capture edition of our LabChart Mastery webinar series. My name is David Ream. I'm the technical support engineer for 80 Instruments North America, and I am based out of our Colorado Springs, Colorado office. And before we get into the meat of video capture, I kind of want to go over a few things regarding the webinar. The first thing you've noticed probably is that all audio from attendees will be muted during the presentation. This is just to keep background noise down and to keep us on track for the topic we're going to cover today. Don't worry, this one's actually relatively short, so we'll have plenty of time for questions in the end. The primary way that you can interact with me during the webinar is via the GoToWebinar toolbar. If you're using a Macintosh computer, you'll kind of see the control panel on the left-hand side here. If you're using a Windows machine, you'll see what's on the right here. Not too much of a difference. But as I said, interact with me via chat. There's a chat window and also questions. So if you have questions during the webinar, please enter them into the questions window, and I will answer them in the order they were received at the end of the webinar. And I'd like to go over a few of the training opportunities we have coming up before we get into the webinar. Here's our training calendar. These are all paid courses. They are not free, and they are actually at physical locations, so you would have to attend these. For right now, we're coming up on the 24th and 25th of April. We're going to have a LabChart training course in Boston, Massachusetts, and also one on the 22nd and 23rd of May. If you want to come and meet me and my supervisor, Brendan Boucher, we're the ones who actually give most of these webinars. We have a training course coming up on the 14th and 15th of May in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and actually I will probably be teaching the majority of that one. Also, for those of you who are doing cardiovascular function or any sort of heart work, either in rodents or actually specifically in mice here, we partner with Jackson Labs in Bar Harbor, Maine to give this comprehensive approach to the in vivo assessment of cardiovascular function, and that's coming up here on the 13th and 18th of May. So if you have any questions about these, about pricing to attend, definitely contact your sales rep and they can let you know what the pricing for each of these individual options is. Also, if you're curious about stuff past this point on the calendar, say past May, I recommend going to our website and going to the events page, and you'll see the upcoming schedule of webinars as well as in-person training courses like what you're seeing here. Quite often we get a variety of questions about how can I use my 80 Instruments equipment? How can I use a LabChart? What can I use it for? You don't have to go through here and read and memorize all of this, but the take-home message is that 80 Instruments products are not intended to be used as medical devices or in medical environments. They can be used in clinical research, but they cannot be used to diagnose, treat, or monitor a subject. So definitely research only. Cannot be used for actual treatment. Also, quite often we get, well, what standards do you comply with? What type of, what subject can I connect my device to? Can I connect this to humans? Can I connect it directly to the heart? You'll see on a variety of our equipment the body protection and the cardiac protection symbols. So cardiac protection would be that heart in a square box, and body protected connection would be the little stick man there in that square box. These are telling you it's okay to connect this device to a human being. So for actual connection to humans where there is no direct electrical connection to the heart, you'll see this on our isolated stimulators, on our bioamps, and a few other devices. I believe only the blood pressure amp provides the cardiac protection symbol right now, but there may be a few other ones out there that I'm missing. But definitely be sure that before you connect to a human subject that you have this body protected symbol, or if you're doing a direct connection to the heart, that you have this cardiac protection symbol. Another question we get quite frequently is, how do I know what I'm getting out of PowerLab and out of LabChart is accurate and what really is being input to it. 80 Instruments spent a considerable amount of money and time to get certified with the quality management system ISO 9001, that they go through and actually look at our validation, manufacturing, and testing procedures so that we know it's validated, okay, it's good for it to actually test the equipment, and we can guarantee that what you're seeing in the software is what's actually being input to them. So if you have an ERB situation or some of your labs like, well, we want some sort of certificate that's saying that, okay, this is an accurate piece of equipment, we can provide you with the quality management system certification we have. This is also available on our website. So definitely allows you to provide that guarantee if you require some sort of laboratory review. Also, this is relatively new for us. If you want to know what's new and what's the latest and greatest for 80 Instruments, you can follow us on a variety of our social networks that we participate in. So you can follow us at YouTube. We have a lot of great instructional videos there, and also just kind of videos that discuss applications of LabChart and PowerLab, and also some kind of how-tos of what to do with LabChart and PowerLab. So it's a great resource. I would recommend going there. You can follow us at Facebook, LinkedIn, and you can also follow us on Twitter at 80 Instruments, or like us on Google+. So now that we've kind of covered all that basic boilerplate at the beginning, we'll kind of talk about what the webinar program is going to consist of today. First, and this is a very common question, I'm going to cover camera and video card selection for using both with the Macintosh version of Capture as well as the Windows version of Video Capture. We'll talk about the viewing windows and how the movie marker works in your data. Then we'll move on to actual video capture module setup. My whole webinar today is actually going to focus specifically on the Windows version of video capture. As many of you probably are aware of, there is a slightly different module that's available for the Mac side. Everything is very similar. There are some small differences, and if you have any questions about that, if you're a Mac user, definitely give me a call and we can discuss those. And last but not least, we'll talk about saving files and movies, the file structure that needs to be there for the movies to be linked to the data file, and also kind of how LabChart parses out the videos. So I'm going to go ahead and back out of my presentation here, and we'll go to LabChart. So first thing I'm going to do, whenever you load an extension or a module into LabChart, you'll get, in the Getting Started tab in the Welcome Center, you'll get example files. So I have video capture enabled and loaded on my version of LabChart here, so I get this video capture demo. I'm going to left click on that example file, and we open up this pre-recorded example file, basically of an EMG of voluntary and involuntary reflex reactions of the soleus muscle. So we have our video. I'm going to go ahead and smart tile and get this a little bit bigger. We have our linked video up here, and we're actually using one of our tendon hammers that actually puts a unit spike out every time it strikes an object, letting us know exactly when we hit something with a hammer. The joint angle from a goniometer here, and also the EMG and the integrated EMG here. That's being recorded from the soleus muscle. So these are some of the basic views you're going to have. There is one other one that's not being shown here. And I'm going to go ahead and go to the video capture menu up here. There's a variety of ways to get to these menu options. We have settings. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We'll have start capture. We'll talk about that. Live preview is the one that's not being shown. Right now what we're seeing is movie view of a pre-recorded movie. That's what this is right here. I'm going to show you live preview. And this is the actual live input from the camera I have connected right now. So if I wave my hand in front of it here, you see this is in real time in this view right here. So I'm going to go ahead and tile that. And I'm going to go ahead and close our notebook option here. As I said, there's a variety of ways to get to this. You'll see if you have them turned on, we have some toolbar icons here that are shortcuts to get to settings, the live preview, and also to the movie view. So if I close all of these, I can bring them back, get live preview, and movie view for this file. So I'm going to do a smart tile here. Now, how do I know where the video is in the data? You'll see down here, let me go ahead and make the chart window a little bit bigger. We have this blue line that shows up here, and that's called the movie marker. This is going to tell us where we are in the data according to our video. And as it plays, you'll see it will move through the file. So I'm going to go ahead and smart tile again so we can see both. I'm going to go ahead and start playing the video. And you can see here that the movie view is going through. Let me get a little bit of a highlight here. Let me go ahead and stop it and start over. Start playing. And you can see here that the movie marker is moving through, saying, okay, this is where the video is at, and this is where we are in the data. So you can see every time you strike with a hammer, we get our unit spike here, and a change in the EMG. So that's the way LabChart shows you that how we're synced with the video in the data. And for this specific data file, we only have one video file attached. For the one we're going to record during the webinar today, we'll go ahead and show you what multiple files look like, what happens when we start and stop recording in LabChart, how the videos are arranged. And before we go on to settings, I'm going to go back to my presentation here. Unfortunately, I skipped a little bit. This is a very, very common question that I get as a support representative. Camera and video card selection. How do I know that the camera I'm buying or the video card I'm buying to interface my camera with is compatible with video capture? For Microsoft Windows, the big thing to look for, and the standard we use Microsoft Direct Show protocol, the interface for that to bring in streaming video. So your camera or your video card, either or, can be identified by video capture, has to be Microsoft Direct Show compatible. Other word of warning here, make sure you're buying from a reputable company. Quite often people will buy things from like gray market Chinese companies, and they don't always have the best software development, so the drivers for the camera may not work right. They claim they're Direct Show compatible, but their drivers aren't written very well and will have problems in bringing the video stream into LabChart. Regarding the capture module, the video capture module's counterpart in our Mac software, the video camera must be approved by Apple for use with the version of OS X you're using. That's the basic thing. They don't have any sort of standard like Microsoft does. It's just if it's approved by Apple, it should work with the capture module. Same warnings apply. Make sure it's a good, reputable company that's making the camera, and you should be okay. So I'm going to go back to LabChart here, and I'm going to close our example file, and we'll talk about setting up video capture. And for the purposes of our experiment or our little webinar today, I'm going to be using a Logitech 9000 web camera. So I'm going to go ahead and set up our file here, and we'll kind of explain what I've got going on here. So I'm going to have one channel of data coming in. I'll explain where that's coming from. And we're going to go ahead here and kind of set up my camera. So I'm going to go to the video capture menu, and we're going to go to settings. We click on settings, and it brings us the video capture settings window. We have 4 tabs here: recording, devices, synchronization, and cache. We'll talk about each one individually, but first we'll, of course, cover recording. Depending on what you want in your video, we can just record straight video. If your camera has a microphone, we can also record audio with it. I'm going to go ahead here and just record video just so we don't get any feedback from the speakers on my computer. We can change when we're going to actually start recording. We can do it manually by telling LabChart, okay, we want to record now, or we can do an internal timer, a certain amount of time after we start recording. And we can also have the same options for stop. I'm going to leave everything in automatic here. So whenever LabChart starts recording, we'll also start recording video. Whenever LabChart stops recording, we'll also stop video. We have some quality options down here. Default is medium. We can go low, high, very high. Where you want to tweak these maybe is, well, what do I need necessarily for my experiment? I mean, is it just simple enough that I can see something moving around on there so I know my test subject is moving, or do I want something a little bit more detailed? Some of our customers have actually used video capture with laryngoscope or endoscopic camera to actually go in and look at the muscle activation inside somebody's throat while they're speaking. So obviously we would probably want very high resolution for that. We have other ones who are actually just monitoring behavior of mice throughout the night. So we want to maybe keep our file size down, so we go with a low quality there. You'll see here as I change it, so in medium quality, LabChart's telling me with the current settings will allow for 815 hours of and 25 minutes of recording with the current available disk space. And once LabChart reaches the end of that space, it's going to stop recording the video, but we will keep recording data. And you'll see here as I change, we're losing time. Very high drops us down to 105. We go to low, and we can record for 2,000 hours. And we can actually set how much disk space is available for video capture, and I'll talk about that later where we can do that inside of LabChart here. We're not just limited to this macro adjustment of quality. We can also go to custom and change things, how we want to put them in. Resolution, so the number of pixels in a given frame, which affects the level of detail seen in the movie. I would set it equal to or below the camera's max resolution. What you set here does not affect the file size as far as pixels go, resolution. And that's the file size of the video. Frame rate. The higher the frame rate, the smoother the video. You want to set that equal to or below your camera's max frame rate. I believe for my specific camera I'm using right now, 30 is actually the highest we can go. Bit rate. That's the amount of bits per second that is available for video streaming. This affects the size and the quality of the video. The higher the bit rate, the larger the video file size, but also the higher the video quality. Keyframe spacing. We're looking at the default value here. The lower the spacing time improves like seeking performance when you're moving through the videos, but the bit rate must be raised to maintain video quality. The smaller it goes. For our file today, I'm probably going to raise our bit rate so we get some pretty decent quality. And of course, audio settings, same thing as what we're doing here with video. The higher the bit rate, the better the quality, but also the larger the file. If you have ever questions about anything in LabChart, you'll notice that we have these little buttons here in most of the settings windows, and these will link you directly to the help menu topic for the specific settings window, or actually for the module. So if I left click on this, it takes us right to the custom file quality dialog for the video capture module. It tells us what everything means here. So definitely, if you forget what we talk about today here, go ahead and click on those little menu parts in the menu so that we can see exactly what we need to set up and to get the quality that we require. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK here. That kind of takes us through the recording tab. Now I'm going to click on the Devices tab. And this is where we set up what specific video and audio device we want to use. So for instance, as I said, I'm using a Logitech Webcam Pro 9000. If I had another camera here, I could also select it there as well and have video capture pull from that camera instead of this one. Audio devices as well. Right now it's identifying my plug-in here for my USB headset, but we could also pull from the microphone on my webcam and also the Realtek audio card that's in this computer and just pull from its input. So a lot of options available to you here. You'll notice on the right-hand side here we have a settings option. If I click on this, it will open the setting properties for whatever device I'm using. It'll take me to that actual device's operating software and its drivers, pull this up so I can kind of change things a little bit with more of the device's specific adjustments. Same with the audio card here. And I can save this to save the use the selected devices as defaults for all new documents. And once again, we also have our old friend here. That takes us to the help menu for the specific settings window. So that takes us through how to select a device and set it up. Next we'll go to synchronization. Depending on your computer speed and depending on a variety of factors, your camera and the software, etc., we can have lags between the video and how well it synchronizes with the actual data. We have an auto sync option. I'm not going to cover this today because it's a little tough to do with the webinar. But basically, you would point your camera at the video screen or at your computer screen, hit auto sync. LabChart plays an alternating white and black block pattern on the screen and actually does an auto sync for saying, okay, well, we have this much delay between the video and when it's actually recorded and what the data is doing. And it'll say, okay, well, we're behind by 0.5 seconds, so we need to go forward 0.5 seconds to synchronize everything. If you find the auto sync doesn't work or it doesn't quite do it right, or if you just don't even want to bother with it, you can go ahead and manually set corrections here with the slider. Or enter them in here. And then you can also save this so that it applies to all new files. So that takes us through the synchronization tab. Next we're going to go to cache. We can tell this is basically where LabChart puts the video file temporarily until we save an actual data file. We can tell it to go someplace specific that we want by browsing. And we can also tell it the amount of free disk space to allocate to movie recordings. So right now on this computer I have looks like 356 gigabytes of free space. I am allowing about 50%, so about 175 gigabytes available for my movie recording. And as I said earlier, if we go past that point, LabChart will stop recording the video and we'll just keep recording data. But this is where we can actually go in and change that amount of free disk space allowed for the kind of the movie buffer, I guess we could say. Another thing to mention too, in order for video capture to work correctly, for us to actually be able to go into settings, you will either need a PowerLab connected to the software and ready for recording, or have our playback extension installed and turned on. If neither of these are true, if you don't have a PowerLab connected or you don't have the playback file extension installed, this will be grayed out and you cannot access the video capture feature. That's just because we're adding new data, so we want to tie that video to the data. And if we don't have a PowerLab connected or if the playback file extension is connected, we can't really play new data or add new data to a file. So that's one of the limitations we have here, but just kind of something to keep under your hat to let you know what you need to have connected in order for video capture to collect video. So I'm going to go into settings. I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, we're going to record video. I'm going to do a little custom here. We're going to up the bit rate some. I'm going to go ahead, okay, hit okay. And the minute I hit okay, instead of video capture, we get a feed from our video camera, and that's live right now, as you can see as I move my hand in front of it. So my setup here, I'm going to go ahead and do a smart tile here as well. In channel 1, I actually have a pulse transducer connected here, and that's the output that's going to be going into channel 1. I can have my little wind-up child's toy here to give us something that we can see on our video, as well as give us some vibrations on that pulse transducer, so it will actually be recorded here in this file, in channel 1. And right now we're looking at the live preview. So, without further ado, we have video capture set up. We're pulling from our camera. We're pulling from the proper camera. Once again, to get to there, all I have to do is go to Video Capture, Settings, or I can go to the Settings toolbar icon. Hit OK. I'm going to go ahead and start recording data. I'm going to go over here, and you'll see as I wind it, we're getting vibrations through that pulse transducer. I'll sit here and hold it, and we'll let it go. So we're getting vibrations through our pulse transducer. Our little wind-up toy there is trying to make an exit stage left. And it's almost wound down, and it stops. So if I stop recording here, we still have the live preview out, which really doesn't help us for our video. But I can actually go to Video Capture, Movie Preview. We'll go ahead and do another smart tile here. So we have the movie preview on top. You'll see here we have a play button. And we also have a cursor we can move. And you can see where I am in the video according to where I am in the data. So I let it go. We get our vibrations. Everything syncs pretty well, it looks like. And we move through the data and through the video at the same time. You can also do this by going up here to the movie marker that's in the data file. Left-clicking and holding, and you can drag it through as well. You can see we're kind of moving the active point, and we're going through the video and showing where it's at. Or if you'd like, we can just go ahead and play from that point. You also see we can go to the beginning of the record with this button right here. Or if we have multiple files or we're at the beginning, we actually have an option here next to it that will allow us to go to the end of the record as well. So I'm going to go back to the beginning of the record. We only have one record going on here. We can actually advance between different ones. Now the way video capture works, unless I'm using the sampling feature in LabChart, it will record individual videos for each of the recording blocks that I create. If I'm using sampling, it creates one big long video file. But if I'm actually manually going in and starting and stopping sampling, it will create multiple video files. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to record again. Do a little wind up here. You can see down there in the live preview. And just so we have something different from our last video, I'm going to have my hand behind there. Okay. We'll close the live preview and stop recording. Make this a little bit larger. And you can see here that now I can actually advance to the beginning of the next file. This has become active. It's not grayed out anymore. So I can move to my next file, which moves to my next block. Hit recording, and we're here on block 2. And we're looking at our second video and our second block of recorded data. So this is our second video and our second block of recorded data. If I want to go ahead and go back to the first one, we can click. Now we're back to the beginning of the second block of recording. back to the first one, and you'll see the movie marker has moved forward, and we're at our first video again. So once again, this is how video capture can be used to move through the different points in the video file. Now, say I have a region of data that I don't want. It's going to be in the middle of this. I'm going to stop the playback here. And we're going to compress the time scale a little bit so we can see the two blocks. Say I don't want to see this region of data right here where I was winding it is not something we really care about, and I want to delete that region. What does video capture do here? If I delete, we'll get a warning. Are you sure you want to delete the selected data for all channels? We'll say OK. The selection being deleted contains video, and deleting video from records cannot be undone. Do you want to continue? Yes. We get rid of this portion. We play. We skip across, and we go back. We go to where we actually let the device loose after I wound it up. LabChart does not delete the video here. It only deletes how it's indexed to the video and what data is present in the file. So it will not do any sort of video editing in that regard. So we should have the full file out on the portion of out in the folder that LabChart creates for the video files. So I'm going to go ahead and stop our video playback here, and we're going to go do a file save as. So we're going to go to the LabChart file menu, save as. I'm going to save this file on the desktop so we can see how LabChart stores the videos once they come out of that temporary buffer. So I'm going to call this one webinar test. I will hit save. I'm going to go ahead here and minimize LabChart, and you'll see out here on the desktop we have the webinar test data file as well as the webinar test movie folder. Now, for your videos to be properly linked to the data file, you need to have them out in the same folder or spot in the file hierarchy of the computer. So for instance, they're both on the desktop here, which would be a desktop folder in Windows, so they will work correctly. Now, if I were to create a new folder and call it test and move the video files to that folder, let me cancel that. 1 second. Let me go ahead and close LabChart. That's what we're running into here. And I move my folders there, and then I open my webinar test data file. It'll tell me I have no movie. And that's because we moved our video files, that folder that contains them, out of the same point in the file structure of the computer that LabChart puts them. They have to be in the same region. If you start moving them around and don't keep them in the same area, it will break the connection. Not permanently, so we can definitely go here, close the video or close the file again, open our test folder, drag our movie folder out here again. Sorry, I need to close. There we go. Open our file again. And you see our movies are back again. So something to keep in mind if you're moving video capture files around is how we orientate that folder. The other thing I'd like to talk about, we're going to go ahead and into that folder and see what videos I have. Like I said, if we record with multiple blocks without using the sampling feature, we will get two recordings. And you can actually play them separate. It doesn't matter. You can use Windows to go ahead and play them via media player or some sort of video playback. You'll see here, like I said, I've deleted that data out of the data file that corresponded to me winding the device here. but it does not delete it out of the video. So it doesn't need to perform any sort of video editing at all. It'll just kind of change how LabChart marks and syncs to the video. So we'll go ahead and close that. So that kind of brings me to the end of everything I wanted to talk about today. If you have any questions, please put them into the questions window. Definitely with video capture, the good thing is to start off on the right foot, is to pick the proper camera. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and bring that slide up again. If you're using the video capture module in Windows, you definitely need to have a video card or camera that is compatible with Microsoft Direct Show. Anything else will not work. And like I said, also make sure it's a quality video card and camera. Any of the gray market stuff or that you see floating around out there may be cheaper, but definitely drivers and actual operating software for the camera it's not all created equal. So definitely go to a reputable company. Same thing with Apple OS X. Make sure that the camera or video card that you're getting for the capture module in our Mac software is approved by Apple for use with the version of OS X you are using. So as I said, that brings us